Lemon, lime, soda skies, lucky like a four-leaf clover. Strawberry, slice of life, singing with a sip of nectar. Sweet like honey on a summer day, I'll stick with you through the wind and the rain. Sweet like honey on a summer night, like a busy bee, take a flight, 2, 1, go! Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like honey, honey. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like honey, honey. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Flying high, take the dive, blue waves across the ocean. Honey straight from the hive, live it up and go with the motion. Sweet like honey on a summer day, I'll stick with you through the wind and the rain. Sweet like honey on a summer night, like a busy bee, take a flight, 2, 1, go! Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like honey, honey. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like honey, honey. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Springtime with you, summer with me. Flowers in fields and little yellow bees. Watch as the time passes in a haze. Sweet honey nights and golden honey days. 2, 1, go! Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like honey, honey. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day. Sweet like honey, sweet like honey, honey. Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day.
Hey, hi, hello, chat, it Doobie, me, Doobie, Rosie Doobie back here in the Rose Garden with another stream for Stream Week. I forgot to take that out, but it's fine. We're fine. We're hanging out. We're vibing. We're back in Tears of the Kingdom with some resource grind on the agenda because spoons are low today. I don't know why. I didn't particularly do anything exertful, but alas, spoons be low for stream today, unfortunately. However, that means that we get a little creative. We do what we can with what we got. So today we're going to be doing the resource grind for things that we need, and also just things that we want. And then whenever we hit those moments where the resource grind just leads us to have to wait for a bit, I'm gonna read bedtime stories with Fazbear Frights because I have a library card, and my friend and lovely mod, that dear Faye Zuli, helped me realize that there's an app called Libby that connects to libraries. So I have Fazbear Frights on my phone through the app, and that is fantastic because it's free. I like reading, but by God, books are so expensive. So we're good, we're chilling, we're vibing. That'll be the plan. Right now, how we're going to start the resource grind, as we are going to be down in the depths. We're going to get the armored Lionel right outside the Coliseum. We're going to do the Lionels in the Coliseum. Then we are going to hop on over to the surface, so that way we can eventually hitch a ride on. Well, we gotta get some Gleox. We gotta fight those big lads. And I'm gonna have to remember to mark them on the map, probably during the stream as well. One of the ways we are going to do that, though, is hitching a ride on the Light Dragon, so we can, 1, farm horn shards, and 2, she passes over the maps she doesn't go to the depths. She only ever circles the actual overworld of Hyrule itself. So it's very good to just hitch a ride on her, hop off whenever we gotta go fight something, and then hop back on, and then continue our journey. Because one, horn shards are fantastic to her. Horn shards are fantastic to attach to weapons because it's like, let me double check as I've got the maps up right now. Yeah, it's a plus 20, which isn't the best you can get, but it also boosts your health a bit every time you use it. So I like using it a whole lot. And also horn shards are 300 rupees a piece whenever you want to sell them. So hence my go-to farming, especially for rupees. But without further ado, let's hop on in to the game. Because first things first, we gotta get these Lionels out of the way and settled. There he is. There's that sucker. Alright. Whoa, we be spotted. We be spotted. Ooh. Ooh. That's fine. Ooh. He came out of nowhere. Ouchies. And boink. I do need a hammer for this one. I've got this one. Hit him, hit him, hit him, hit him. Hey, Riju, 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 I need you, I need you, I need you. It's fine, don't stop, don't stop. That didn't go well. That's fine. All is good in the hood at the end of the day. No, that's fine. Boink. Boink. Whoop. I went the wrong way. It's been a hot second. It's been a hot second. Okay, we're fine. Ow. Okay, that kick was just personal. Alright, there we go. Hop, 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 hop. Alright, yoink. And we go back to our actual attack weapon. Boop, 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 ba-doop, boop, ba-doop, boop, boop. Alright. Flurry Rush. Get him. Get him. Get him. Boink. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Ouchies. There we go. And get on. And we whack. We whack. We're good. Yep. Flurry Rush, there it is. Push, 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 push. Got him. Neato. Not our best performance, but it's also not our worst. So we just vibe with that. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Lionel Bow is even worse than our other one. That's funny. That's funny. Alright. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Travel around this little pathway so we can actually get over to the Coliseum. Boop, boop. So that Nintendo Direct, huh? That was a lot of fun. I'm excited for a variety of things. Also, I saw people saying, I don't know how true it is, because I don't think the actual amiibo itself has been released yet, but I saw people talking about how the Zelda amiibo will give you an exclusive Zelda fabric for the glider, and if that is the case, the temptation is strong. The temptation is strong. It already was strong because I just adore Zelda. What do you got? You just got the Traveler Spear. A shame. A right shame. Alright. Let's get this. Let's get these bits. Let's get these bits. Let's get these arrows. We'll have fun. Alright. Let's go. What? I'm Mammy. Hello, Loon. Thank you for the crab rave. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. Bonk, bonk. Ouch. I got cocky. That's on me. That's my bad. Whoop. 1, 2. Back away. 1, 2. Buckle my shoe, as one says. Not usually in this context, but alas, it is a saying. Alright, boink. Okay. Had to double check I was using the right jump button for a second. Because I will get it mixed up. I'll admit. I'll get it mixed up. But sometimes. Do, 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 do. Boink, boink, boink. Boink. Ow. That's fine. Oh, nice. Yoink. Wrong button. That one. Hit him. Alright. And back at it again. Krispy Kreme. Whoop. Whoop. Alright, cool, cool, cool. We start rapid clicking. We start rapid pressing A. We're hitting A. We're hitting A. We're only hitting A. Come on. Get him, get him, get him. Get the bits, get the bits, get the bits. Boink. Flurry rush. Do 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 do. Boink. Once more. Bonk, 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 bada bonk, bonk, bonk. I hit the wrong way. I went the wrong way. That's on me. What in the cinematic mode have we gotten into? Woo! Ole, flurry rush, let's go. Do 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 do. Do do do. Woo! Nice. Hit him. Boom, 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 bada bunk, 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 bunk. Make sure we got a bow in the roster. There we go. And we hit him. Bunk, 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 bada bunk, bunk, bunk. Not for long though. Alright, skipping the song. Skipping the song. There we go. I like how all the other Lionels are just waiting patiently in their little cages. Alright, I hit that. Don't even try and tell me I didn't hit that. Alright, come on. This is it. This is it. This has gotta be it. There we go. Alright, we rapid clicking. Rapid clicking. Rapid clicking. Get the bits, get the bits, get the bits, get the bits. Shove them in our pockets. Shove them in our pockets. There we go. Woo. Ooh. We'll use that one later. Bong, bong, bong. Bong, ba-da, bong, ba-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. And we smack him in the butt. We smack him in the butt. Whoa. Back her up. Back her up. Everyone. Oh. Tulin. Tulin, you absolute mad lad. Oh no. I missed it. Oh well. It happens. It happens. We just vibe. We just vibe. We smack him. We smack him a whole bunch. Ooh, you want to hit me so badly. But not right now. Hit him. Hit him. Off he goes. Yoinkers. Nope. Whoop. Flurry rush. There we go. Do 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 do. Oh, he's getting upset at them. That's funny. Yoinkers. No thanks. But I'll do that. There it is. Bonk, 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 bonk. Whoop! Flurry rush. Hop, 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 hop. No, I missed it. Alright, Tulin, if you want to get him, feel free. No? I got it. It's fine. Bonk, 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 bonk. Ooh, what you gonna do? Yoinkers. Alright, I'm just gonna back it up a bit. Got him. Boop. Do, 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 do. Hit him, hit him, hit him, hit him with the Master Sword. Alright. My mammy. Got him. Alright, this should be it. This should be it. How is that not it? Alright. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, wait. No, 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 no. Dismount. No. Dismount. Dismount. Okay, we're fine. We're still fine. Whoop. Whoop. Hi, buddy. Yep. Flurry rush. There we go. Bonk, 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 bonk. Bonk, 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 bonk. Ow. That's fine. We're fine. Ooh. Didn't think I was gonna get that one. But we got it, and that is all that matters. Ouchies. Ouchies. This is fine. Why are you... Excuse you? I knew I drew my bow at close quarters, but that was to use an ally's attack. You did it to just do it. Makes no sense. Okay. I hit it. I hit it, and no one can tell me that I didn't. Because I jumped. I jumped. I did. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Boink, boink. Do, 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 do. Nope, not quite. Nope, not quite. Not even a little. Alright, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get him. Whoop. Bonk, bonk. Come on, buddy. Flurry rush. There we go. There we go. We got it. I had it. I was hitting the jump. I was hitting the jump. Grr. Okay, that was me trying to hit to the side. And away we go. Oh, never mind. 2-1's the goat. 2-1's the goat. Bonk, 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 bonk. Sorry, Tolan. Whoop. Whoop. There we go. Bonk, 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 bada bonk, bonk, bonk. Do, do, do. There we go. Flurry rush. Hit him. Get him. Get him. Get him. Get him. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Got him. Alright, 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 alright. Hey, buddy. Oops, I gotta pause. There goes my entire headphones. My ear was itching so badly. Oh my goodness. Hold on, hold on. Let's get myself back oriented. Goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. All right. Whoop. Let's finish off this rock hammer. 1, 2, 3. There it goes. Ouchies. I don't think that's doing anything. Nope. 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 Ouch. Ooh. Ooh. Ouchies. No, we'll go with this one. Yeah, no, not a single thing. Not a single thing is being done. Whew. At this point, I'm just doing it to get out of there. Ooh, guts. Ouchies. Ouchies. Okay. It's fine. We're vibing. We're hanging in there. We've got foods. We'll use a pizza. All right. All right, that was just mean. Okay, we are very close. That won't end well for us. There we go. Boink. All right. I went the wrong way. Baloney. Baloney. Gotta jump to the side, jump to the side. Flurry rush to the side. And go back. There we go, there we go, there we go. We're fine. We're fine, actually. Ooh, there we go. Get him, get him, get him. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Again, baloney. I was running. I was running. There's only so much speed I can get. That was me. That was my own. That was myself. That was me. Tell me why his health bar isn't lowering anymore. Come on. There we go. Alright. I'm a little out of practice. It's only been a couple of days, so you wouldn't think so. Apparently we are full on arrows. We're full on bows too. Alright. Bonk. Bonk. What? Alright. Something's going on outside. But with that, what we need to do is make our way over to Mifa's court so we can wait for Zelda to drive on along in her dragon form. And let's just hope we didn't miss her already. As I can never tell where she's gonna be. Let's go for the quicker movements. We are slowly gaining our health back, which is great. It's not our actual health, but like the actual hearts. We get to see them again. We get all these hot-footed frogs that I don't know what I'll ever do with. But we certainly have them. Hi, Mifa. Hi, darling. Let's get these fish too while we're at it. Yoink. Ancient arowana. Uppies. Alright, it's harder to see because of the rain, but at the very least, it doesn't look like she's passed already, which is great. Do we see her in the distance at all? Not quite. Because she's gonna be coming around Death Mountain. This is where I usually end up waiting out for her, at least. And she just sort of like passes right along. She passes in front of the Zora domain, which you can kind of gauge her patterns based off of where the tier murals are. Ooh. Alright, stop it. Joy-Con drift. Alright, I'm not seeing her. Oh, hello. I'm not seeing her anywhere around, which makes me think that she's not anywhere close to here. Starting to get a little crowded. Is that moment of, do I want to wait for her or do I want to try and go get her? Ooh. I have never been hit by one of those yet, and I'm thankful for it. I keep seeing all sorts of videos of people getting just absolutely brained by them. I don't see her on the horizon, so she's probably not anywhere close, honestly. So she might just not be loaded in though. I wish it was. Alright, let's quickly pop on over towards Tiflo Ruin Tower. Give a shot, see where she's at over there. Or if she is around over there. Ooh. Let's see, that's north, so she'd be over there if she were anywhere nearby. Eh? Eh? No, not quite. How about over here? Because once we're on there, we can start story time. I just get paranoid about missing her, even though she moves at like 2 miles an hour, and so it's not like she's just gonna speed on past me wherever I end up. Alright. Ooh. Anywhere? Anywhere? I don't know why I'm looking so far down. Wagon? Mr. Wagon, are you around? Goodness gracious, where is she? Dun, dun, dun. Let's check the Highlands Tower. I'm going backwards from her usual route, so one way or another we'll catch up with her. Somehow. Somewhere. Oh, it's the cold area. Alright. Ooh! Hi, baby! Oh, ain't that a feat. Alright. First things first, let's just pop some hearts because poor Link. He'll be fine. We will deal with the cold in a second, but for now we just gotta get on. There she is. Hello, darling. Alright. It's all good. We can use a wooden stick. Bonk. Alright, there's that. Now we just crouch. Hold on. I gotta get to my favorite spot. Do 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 do. Bonk. And to keep out of the way of any ongoing thunderstorms, because you never know. Gimme, doing for you, Kermie. Every time. Alright, alright. Oops, that's not what I meant to open. Hold on. Yeah, switch over to some lo-fi tunes. I switch over to some lo-fi tunes. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Gotta get to that library. I know I saved the playlist for Miss Lo-Fi ages ago. Brown. I'm just gonna look for it. I'm just gonna look for it. Lo-Fi girl profile. Public playlist. There we go. There it is. Do 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 do. That's fine. Alright, there we go. Welcome to story time, ladies and gentlemen. It took us 30 minutes. It took us almost 40 minutes, but we got there. Alright, so where we are starting is in the Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights book number 1, Into the Pit, by Scott Coffin and Ellie Cooper. And we are just going to start right at the beginning. into the pit. The dead possum's still there. Oswald was looking out the passenger window at the gray, furry corpse on the other side of the road. Somehow it looked even deader than it had yesterday. Last night's rain hadn't helped. Nothing looks deader than a dead possum, Oswald's dad said. Except this town, Oswald mumbled, looking at the boarded up storefronts and the display windows, which were displaying nothing but dust. What's that? His dad said. He was already wearing the stupid red vest they put him in when he worked at the deli counter at the snack space. Oswald wished he'd wait to put it on till after he dropped him at school. This town, Oswald said, louder this time. This town looks deader than a dead possum. His dad laughed. Well, I don't guess I can argue with that. 3 years ago, when Oswald was 7, there had actually been stuff to do here. A movie theater, a game and card store, and an ice cream shop with amazing waffle cones. But then the mill had closed. The mill had basically been the reason the town existed. Oswald's dad had lost his job, and so did hundreds of other kids' moms and dads. Lots of families had moved away, including Oswald's best friend Ben and his family. Oswald's family had stayed because his mom's job at the hospital was steady, and they didn't want to move far away from Grandma. So Dad ended up with a part-time job at the snack space, which paid $5 an hour less than he had made at the mill. And Oswald watched the town die. One business after another shut down, like organs in a dying body, because nobody had the money for movies or games or amazing waffle cones anymore. Are you excited it's the last day of school? Dad asked. It was one of those questions a doll always asked, like, how was your day? And did you brush your teeth? Oswald shrugged. I guess, but there's nothing to do with Ben gone. School's boring, but home's boring too. When I was 10, I wasn't home in the summer until I got called in for supper, Dad said. I rode my bike and played basketball and got into all kinds of trouble. Are you saying I should get in trouble? Oswald said. No, I'm saying you should have fun. Dad pulled into the drop-off line in front of Westbrook Elementary. Have fun. He made it sound so easy. Oswald walked through the school's double doors and ran smack into Dylan Cooper, the last person he wanted to see. Oswald was apparently the first person Dylan wanted to see, though, because his mouth spread into a wide grin. Dylan was the tallest kid in 5th grade and clearly enjoyed looming over his victims. Well, if it isn't Oswald the Ocelot, he said, his grin spreading impossibly wider. That one never gets old, does it? Oswald walked past Dylan and was relieved when his tormentor chose not to follow him. When Oswald and his 5th grade classmates were preschoolers, there was a cartoon in one of the little kid channels about a big pink ocelot named Oswald. As a result, Dylan and his friends started calling him Oswald the Ocelot on the first day of kindergarten, and it never stopped. Dylan was the kind of kid who'd pick on anything that made you different. If it hadn't been Oswald's name, it would have been his freckles or his cowlick. The name-calling had gotten much worse this year in U.S. history when they learned that the man who shot John F. Kennedy was named Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald would rather be an ocelot than an assassin. Since it was the last day of school, there was no attempt to do any kind of real work. Mrs. Meacham, her name is spelled Meecham. Meekum. Mrs. Meekum had announced the day before that students were allowed to bring their electronics as long as they took responsibility for anything getting lost or broken. This announcement meant no effort would be made towards any educational activities of any kind. Oswald didn't have any modern electronics. True, there was one laptop at home, but the whole family shared it, and he wasn't allowed to bring it to school. He had a phone, but it was the saddest, most out-of-date model imaginable. And he didn't want to take it out of his pocket because he knew any kid who saw it would make fun of how pathetic it was. So, while other kids played games on their tablets or handheld consoles, Oswald sat. After sitting became intolerable, he took out a notebook and pencil and started to draw. He wasn't the best artist in the world, but he could draw well enough that his images were identifiable, and there was a certain cartoony quality about his drawings that he liked. The best thing about drawing, though, was that he could get lost in it. It was like he fell into the paper and became part of the scene he was creating. It was a welcome escape. He didn't know why, but lately he had been drawing mechanical animals: bears, bunnies, and birds. He imagined them being human-sized and moving with the jerkiness of robots in old science fiction movies. They were furry on the outside, but the fur covered a hard metal skeleton, filled with gears and circuits. Sometimes he drew the animals' exposed metal skeletons, or sketched them with the fur peeled back to show some of the mechanical workings underneath. It was a creepy effect, like seeing a person's skull peeking out from beneath the skin. Oswald was so immersed in his drawing that he was startled when Miss Meckham turned off the lights to show a movie. Movies always seemed like a teacher's final act of desperation on the day before break, a way to keep the kids quiet and relatively still for an hour and a half before setting them loose for the summer. The movie Mrs. Meckham chose was, in Oswald's opinion, too babyish for a room full of fifth graders. It was about a farm with talking animals, and he had watched it before, but he'd watch it again because what else did he have to do? At recess, kids stood around tossing a ball back and forth, talking about what they were going to do over the summer. I'm going to football camp. I'm going to basketball camp. I'm going to hang out at my neighborhood pool. I'm going to stay with my grandparents in Florida. Oswald sat on the bench and listened. For him, there would be no camps and no pool memberships and no trips because there was no money. And so he drew pictures, play his old video games that he had already beaten 1,000 times, and maybe go to the library. If Ben were still here, it'd be different. Even if they were doing the same old stuff, they'd be doing it together. And Ben could always make Oswald laugh, riffing on video game characters or doing a perfect impersonation of one of their teachers. He and Ben had fun no matter what they did. But now a summer without Ben yawned before him, wide and empty. Gotta get a drink. Also, there's a Lionel drop, but Lionel in front of us. Alright, there's a small break in the... Now we'll stick with the reading. I'll stick with the reading. Because looking at the map, we would have to wait for her to pass on over through Lookout Landing, and that's still a bit of a ways. So we'll just keep reading. Most days, Oswald's mom worked from 12 p.m. till 12 a.m., so his dad had to make dinner. Usually they got by on frozen meals like lasagna or chicken pot pie, or on cold cuts and potato salad from the snack-based deli that were still good enough to eat, but not good enough to sell. When Dad did cook, it was usually things that just required boiling water. Whoop. Horn smack time. Whoop. Bonk. Take that. Get back in position. Boop, boop, boop. Alright. This is what I do off camera too, is I just read and then do this. Alright. While Dad got their dinner ready, Oswald's job was to feed Jinx, their very spoiled black cat. Oswald often thought that he used about the same amount of cooking skills in opening Jinx's can of stinky cat food as his dad used in his dinner preparations. Tonight, Oswald and Dad were sitting down to plates of blue box mac and cheese and some canned corn his dad had zapped in the microwave. It was a very yellow meal. You know, I was thinking, Dad said, squirting ketchup onto his macaroni and cheese. Why did he do that? Oswald wondered. I know you're old enough to stay home by yourself some, but I don't like the idea of you staying by yourself the whole day while your mom and I are at work. I was thinking you could ride into town with me in the mornings and I could drop you off at the library. You could read, surf the net. Oswald couldn't let this one slide. How out of date could his dad be? Nobody says surf the net anymore, Dad. They do now, because I just said it. Dad forked up some macaroni. Anyway, I thought you could hang out in the library in the mornings. When you get hungry, you could head over to Jeff's Pizza for a slice and a soda, and I could pick you up there once my shift's over at 3. Oswald considered for a moment. Jeff's Pizza was kind of weird. It wasn't dirty exactly, but it was run down. The vinyl on the booth seats had been repaired with duct tape, and the plastic letters had fallen off the menu board above the counter, So the listed toppings include pepperon and hamburger. It was clear Jeff's pizza used to be something bigger and better than it now was. There were tons of unused floor space and a lot of unused electrical outlets along the base of the walls. Also on the far wall there was a small stage, even though there was no performances there, not even so much as a karaoke night. It was a strange place. Sad and not what it had once been like the rest of the town. That being said, the pizza was decent, and more important, it was the only pizza in town if you didn't count the kind of from the frozen food department at the snack space. The few good restaurants in town, including Gino's Pizza and Marco's Pizza, which, unlike Jeff's, had real pizza maker names, had closed their doors not long after the mill had. So you'll give me the money for pizza? Oswald asked. Since Dad's job loss, Oswald's allowance had dwindled to practically nothing. Dad smiled, a kind of sad smile, it seemed to Oswald. Dad smiled. A kind of sad smile, it seemed to Oswald. Son, we're bad off, but we're not so bad off I can't spot you $3.50 for a slice and a soda. Okay, Oswald said. It was hard to say no to warm, gooey cheese slice. Since it wasn't school night, it wouldn't be again for quite some time, Oswald stayed up after Dad went to bed and watched an old Japanese monster movie with Jinx curled up purring in his lap. Oswald had seen a lot of B-grade Japanese horror films, but this one... Oh dear. Zendrillix versus Mecha Zendrillix was new to him. As always, Zendrillix looked just like the giant dragon thing, but Mecha Zendrillix reminded him of the mechanical animals he drew when he stripped them of their fur. He laughed at the movie special effects. The train Zendrillix destroyed was clearly a toy, and at how the actor's lips movements didn't match the dub in English. Somehow, though, he always found himself rooting for Zendrillix. Even though it was just a guy in a rubber suit, somehow he managed to have a lot of personality. In bed, he tried to count his blessings. He didn't have bed, but he had monster movies, and the library, and lunchtime pizza slices. It was better than nothing, but it still wasn't going to be enough to keep him going all summer. Please, he wished, his eyes closed tight. Please let something interesting happen. Oswald woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. The coffee he could do without, but the bacon smelled amazing. Breakfast meant time with his mom, often the only time he got with her until the weekend. After one necessary stop, he hurried down the hall to the kitchen. Well, look at that! My rising sixth grader has risen. Mom was standing over the stove in her fuzzy pink bathrobe, her blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, flipping. Oh, yum, were those pancakes? Hi, Mom. She opened her arms. I demand a morning hug. Oswald sighed like it annoyed him, but he went over and hugged her. It was funny. With Dad, he always said he was too old for hugs, but he'd never turned down his mom's open arms. Maybe it was because he didn't get to spend as much time with her during the week. While he and Dad spent so much time together, they sometimes got on each other's nerves. He knew Mom missed him, and felt bad for having to work such long hours. But he also knew that since Dad's job at the snack space was just part-time, Mom's long hours were most of the reasons the bills were getting paid. Mom always said that adult life was a fight between time and money. The more money you earned and spent on bills and necessities, the less time you got to spend with your family. It was a difficult balance. Oswald sat down at the kitchen table, thanked his mom while she poured his orange juice. First day of summer break, huh? Mom went back to the stove to scoop up a pancake with her spatula. Uh-huh. He probably could have tried to sound more enthusiastic, but he couldn't muster the energy. She slid the pancake onto his plate and then served him 2 strips of bacon. Not the same without Ben, huh? He shook his head. He wasn't going to cry. Mom ruffled his hair. I know, it's a bummer. But hey, maybe a new friend will move into town. Oswald looked at her hopeful face. Why would anyone move here? Okay, I see your point, Mom said, piling on another pancake. But you never know. Or maybe somebody cool already lives here. Somebody you don't even know yet. Maybe, but I doubt it, Oswald said. These pancakes are great, though. Mom smiled and ruffled his hair again. Well, I got that going for me anyways. Do you want more bacon? If you do, you'd better grab it before your dad gets in here and vacuums it all up. Sure. It was Oswald's personal policy to never refuse more bacon. Gotta get a twink. The library was actually kind of fun. He found the latest book in a science fiction series he liked, and a manga that looked interesting. As always, he had to wait forever to use the computers, because they were all taken by people who looked like they had no place else to be. Men with scraggly beards, wearing layers of ratty clothing. Two thin women with sad eyes and bad teeth. He waited his turn politely, knowing that some of these people used the library for shelter during the day, then spent the night on the streets. Jeff's Pizza was as weird as he remembered. The big empty space beyond the booths and tables was like a dance floor where nobody danced. The walls were painted a pale yellow, but they must have used cheap paint or only one coat, because shapes of whatever had been on the walls before were still visible. It had probably been some kind of mural with people or animals, but now it was just shadows behind a thin veil of yellow paint. Oswald sometimes tried to figure out what the shapes were, but they were too blobby to make out. Then there was a stage that never got used, standing empty but seemingly waiting for something. Though a feature even weirder than the stage laid in the back right corner. It was a large rectangular pen surrounded by yellow netting, but it had been roped off with a sign that said "Do not use." The pen itself was filled with red, blue, green plastic balls that had probably been brightly colored once, but were now faded and fuzzy with dust. Oswald knew that ball pits had been popular features in kiddie playlands, but had largely disappeared because of concerns about hygiene. After all, who was going to disinfect all those balls? No one. That's the truth, is the cesspools. Cesspools they were. Oswald had no doubt that if ball pits had still been popular when he was little, his mom wouldn't have let him play in one. As a licensed practical nurse, she was always happy to point out places she found to be too germy to play in. And when Oswald would have complained that she never let him have any fun, she'd say, "Do you know what's not fun? Pink eye." Except for the empty stage and the ball pit, the strangest features in Jeff's Pizza was Jeff himself. He seemed to be the only person who worked there, so he both took orders at the counter and made the pizzas. But the place was never crowded enough that this was a problem. Today, like all other days, Jeff looked as though he hadn't slept in a week. His dark hair was sticking up in weird places, and he had alarming bags under his bloodshot eyes. His apron was stained with both recent and ancient tomato sauce. "What can I get you?" he asked Oswald, sounding bored. Oop. Horn smacking time. Do. Get up there. Whack. Take. Got it. And back down on the nose we go. Boop. Nice. Where are we? Okay. When we get to the ice Gleok in, like, this area, I am gonna have to... I need to get Gleok wings. We'll see where we're at in the story and how I'm feeling. I keep putting off fighting those guys because I don't want to. I don't want to fight them. Alright, what can I get you? He asked Oswald, sounding bored. "A cheese slice and an orange soda, please," Oswald said. Jeff stared off in the distance as though he had to think about whether the request was a reasonable one or not. Finally he said, "Okay, $3.50. One thing you could say about Jeff's pizza slices? They were huge. Jeff served them on flimsy white paper plates that were soon stained with grease, and the corners of the triangles always overlapped the plate's rims. Oswald settled into a booth with a slice and soda. The first bite, the tip of the triangle, was always the best. Somehow the proportions of all the flavor in that bite were perfect. He savored the warm, melty cheese, the tangy sauce, and the pleasantly greasy crust. As he ate, he looked around at the few other customers. A pair of mechanics from the oil change place had folded up their pepperoni slices and were eating them like sandwiches. A table full of office workers clumsily attacked their slices with plastic forks and knives so they wouldn't drip sauce on their ties and blouses, Oswald guessed. After Oswald finished his slice, he wished for one more, but he knew he didn't have the money for it, so he wiped off his greasy fingers and took out his library book. He sipped on his soda and read, falling into a world where kids with secret powers went to a special school to learn how to fight evil. Kid, a man's voice startled Oswald out of the story. He looked up to see Jeff in his sauce-stained apron. Oswald figured he had outstayed his welcome. He had sat in a booth reading for 2 hours after having bought a meal that cost less than $4. Yes, sir? Oswald said, because politeness never hurt. I got a couple more cheese slices that didn't sell at lunch. You want them? Oh, Oswald said. No thanks, I don't have any more money. He wished he did, though. On the house, Jeff said. I just have to throw them out anyways. Oh, okay, sure, thanks. Jeff picked up Oswald's empty cup. I'll get you some more orange soda while I'm at it. Thanks. It was funny. Jeff's expression never changed. He looked tired and miserable, even when he was being extra nice. I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit. It started getting loud in my ears. Boop. There we go. Jeff brought 2 slices stacked on a paper plate, a fresh cup of orange soda. Here you go, kid, he said, setting down the cup and the plate. Thank you. Oswald wondered for a minute if Jeff felt sorry for him. If Jeff might think he was terribly poor like the homeless people who hung out all day in the library, instead of just the regular, barely making ends meet poor that he was. But then Oswald figured, if there was free pizza sitting in front of you, maybe it wasn't time to worry about the reasons for it. Maybe it was time to eat. Oswald had no problem polishing off the 2 huge slices. For the past month, his appetite had been unstoppable. When Mom cooked him piles of pancake in the morning, she said he must be having a growth spurt, causing him to eat like he had a hollow leg. His phone vibrated in his pocket the second he sucked down the last of his soda. He looked at his dad's text. We'll be out front at Jeff's in 2 min. Perfect timing. It had been a good day. Alright, where are we at on the map? Oh, we're not even close. We're going. I didn't mean to whistle. We're working on it, though. I gotta get all the way around. Alright. Looking back at those eyes. Those beautiful, wacky eyes. Two days at the library, and Jeff's pizza started to add up. The first couple of weeks had been great, but now the library didn't have the next book in the series he was reading, and he had grown bored with his online fantasy game, which, while advertised as free, now wouldn't let him advance any further without paying money. He'd gotten tired of not having anybody his age to hang out with. He hadn't gotten tired of the pizza yet, but he was starting to imagine that he might in the future. Tonight was family fun night, the one-night-a-week event that varied depending on Mom's work schedule. Back when the mill was still open, family fun night meant dinner in a restaurant, pizza or Chinese or Mexican. After the meal, they'd go do some fun activity together. They'd go to the movies, They go to the movies if something kid-friendly was playing, but if not, they'd go to the bowling alley, or to the roller rink where Mom and Dad used to go out on dates while they were still in high school. Mom and Dad were great skaters, and Oswald was terrible. But they'd skate on either side of him, holding his hands and keeping him up. They'd usually top off their evening with a waffle cone at the ice cream place downtown. Oswald and Mom would make fun of Dad because no matter what ice cream flavors were available, he always got vanilla. Since the mill closed down, though, family fun night had turned into an at-home affair. Mom would make something for dinner that was easy but festive, like tacos from a mix or hot dogs. They'd eat, then play board games or watch a movie they'd rented from Redbox. It was still fun, of course, but sometimes Oswald wished aloud for the old days of seeing new movies in the theater and having waffle cones after. And Dad had to remind him that the important thing was that they all got to spend time together. Sometimes when the weather was nice, they'd have a family fun night. Or sometimes when the weather was nice, they'd have a family fun night. They'd pack a picnic of cold cuts and salads, courtesy of the snack space, and head over to the state park. They eat their dinner at a wooden table and watch squirrels, birds, and raccoons. Afterwards, they go for a walk on one of the hiking trails. These outings were always a nice change, but Oswald was also aware of why these were the only family fun nights that ever got them out of the house. Picnics were free. That was me making a split-second decision on if I want to fight him or not. Hold on. Yeah. Alright, we paused there. We stopped at picnics are free. Alright, let's go get him. Let's go get him. I don't know what kind of lad he is. Oh, this is just a construct one. That's fine, that means it'll be easy. Hold on, we need our better bow. Bonk, 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 bonk. Easy peasy. We go brr. We'll do that fuse for now, but if we come across another that makes for a better fuse, then we'll hit that up. Stretches. Alright. Where's Zildy? Where is she? I gotta make sure I can find her before I actually launch myself off. Oh, there's that Gliok. Alright, where's the princess? Oh, there she is. Alright, I can catch up to her either at the Wind Temple or at the stone. But we've got a Gliok here. This isn't the one that I was thinking of, I don't think. But still an important one. Still gotta get him. Still need those wings after all. Alright. Alright, there we go. I have fought this one before. Okay. We need to switch to an actually good weapon real quick, and then just get him, get him, get him, get him. Alright, we need to switch our pants so we're actually unfreezable. Ow. It still hurts, but like we're not gonna freeze. Alright, come on. This is a mess. Come on. Hit the eye. There we go. Bonk, 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 bonk. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Oh, uh-oh. Bruh. This is never my favorite part. I always hate this part. Alright, neato. Alright, where are these guys? Where'd they go? Where are they at? Oh! Oh, hey, there he is. Bow, bow. Bow, bow. Nope, not even close. Not even close. Well. I messed that up. I messed it up. I'm just not having a good time. Come on. Send me up. Where'd he go? He was right here, wasn't he? Oh, there he is. Got him. And he gone. And the blood moon is in the middle of happening right now. But that's fine because we're just gonna grab him and then we're gonna go back to Zelda. Alright. Back over to this tower. Goodness gracious. I need to fight them more often just so I can get better at it. But I never want to. Okay. Oh. This is something interesting. That I realized. Because we realized that the Zelda we had been seeing wasn't actually our princess, we don't hear her in the cutscene anymore. Because it wasn't actually her telling us. It was the puppet talking to us. Which also makes complete sense when you think about how different of a vibe the cutscenes were between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Because in Breath of the Wild, it's very obvious that it's a warning. She's telling Link, be careful. The monsters have returned. The blood moon rises. The monsters are back. Be careful. But in each time that we had a cutscene in Tears of the Kingdom, people even made jokes about it, saying that because she wasn't talking about it as if it was a warning. She was almost being poetic about it. It's like when the moon's blood bathes upon the earth, as the aimless souls of monsters slain return. And it's like no one who's talking about it as a warning is gonna say it like that. So it makes sense when we think about it in the long run that of course it wasn't her talking. Oh, our stuff is wounded. Yoink. But I'm also sad because I miss her. She's right here, but I miss her. Alright, I'm gonna turn the music back on. And we're gonna get back into the story, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, no, we're not. I'm actually gonna hit the bathroom, so we're gonna hit it with the BRB, and so y'all make sure you get your own stretches and snacks and waters and bathroom breaks in it, and I will be right back with ya. Boom. And we'll come right back into the story time too. Oh my gosh, we're back. Oh my gosh, we're back. I forgot to pull my phone out. That's fine. I'm not used to using my phone during streams. But it's fun. This has been a fun little entourage interlude. It's been a fun little excursion from what we normally do. There is another Gleeok, like, in that area. In that general vicinity. I'm almost certain of it. Unless the one nope, there he is. Instantly, never mind. There he is. Alright. Back to the story we do. Let's see. All got together. Picnics were free. Tonight, they were staying in. Mom had made spaghetti and garlic bread. God, that sounds so good right now. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Mom had made spaghetti and garlic bread. They had played a game of Clue, which Mom won, as she usually did. And now they were piled up on the couch together in their pajamas with a huge bowl of popcorn between them, watching a remake of an old science fiction movie. Once the movie was over, Dad said, "Well, that was pretty good. Not as good as the real version." "What do you mean the real version?" Oswald said. "That was a real version." "Not really," Dad said. "I mean, it was set in the same universe as the real version. It was kind of a cheap knockoff from the one that came out when I was a kid." Dad always had to be so opinionated. He could never just watch something and enjoy it. "So the best movies are always the ones that you watched when you were a kid?" Oswald said. "Not always, but in this case, yes." Dad was settling in. Oswald could tell for one of his favorite things. No. Not always, but in this case, yes. Dad was settling in. Oswald could tell for one of his favorite things. A good argument. "But the special effects in the original version stink," Oswald said. "All those puppets and rubber masks." "I'll take a puppet or a model over CGI any day," Dad said, leaning back on the couch and propping his feet on the coffee table. "That stuff is so slick and fake. It's got no warmth and no texture. Besides, you like those old Zinderlix movies, and the special effects in those are terrible." Yeah, but I just watched those to make fun of them," Oswald said, even though he really did think Zinderlix was pretty cool. Mom came in from the kitchen with bowls of ice cream. Not as good as the waffle cone place, but nothing to turn your nose up at either. "Okay, if you guys don't cut out the nerd argument, I'm gonna pick the next movie we watch, and it's gonna be a romantic comedy." Oswald and his dad shut up immediately. That's about what I thought," Mom said, passing around the bowls of ice cream. As Oswald was lying in bed sketching his mechanical animals, his phone vibrated on his nightstand. There's only one other person other than his parents who'd ever texted him. "Hey," Bennett typed on the screen. "Hey back," Oswald typed. "How's your summer?" "Awesome. At Myrtle Beach for vacation. It's so cool. Arcades and mini golf everywhere." "Jealous," Oswald typed, and he meant it. A beach with arcades and mini golf really did sound awesome. "Wish you were here," Ben typed. "Me too." "How's your summer?" "Okay," Oswald texted. He was briefly tempted to make his summer sound cooler than it was, but he could never lie to Ben. "Been going to the library a lot. Lunch at Jeff's Pizzas." "That's all?" It did sound pathetic compared with a family trip to the beach. He texted back, "Pretty much, yeah." "I'm sorry," Ben texted. And then, "That pizza place is creepy." They chatted a little while longer, and although Oswald was happy to hear from Ben, he was also sad that his friend was so far away and having such a good time without him. Monday morning, and Oswald was in a bad mood. Even his mom pancakes didn't help. In the car, Dad turned up the radio too loud. It was some stupid song about a tractor. Oswald reached for the knob to turn it down. "Hey, dude, driver picks the music. You know that," Dad said. He turned the awful song back up even louder. It's bad music, Oswald said. I'm trying to save you from yourself. Well, I don't like those video game songs you listen to, Dad said, but I don't just barge into your room and turn them off. Yeah, Oswald said, but I don't force you to listen to them either. Dad turned down the radio. What's with the attitude, son? Whatever bothering you, it's not just that I like country music. Oswald didn't feel like talking, but clearly he was being forced to. And once he opened his mouth, he was surprised to feel complaints erupting from him like lava from a volcano. I'm tired of every day being exactly the same. Ben texted me yesterday. He's at Myrtle Beach having an awesome time. He wanted to know what I was doing, and I told him I was going to the library and just pizza every day. And you know what he texted back? I'm sorry. And that pizza place is creepy. Dad sighed. I'm sorry we can't go on vacation and have an awesome time, Oz. Things are hard right now where money's concerned. Ooh. Where money's concerned. I'm sorry it affects you. You're a kid. You shouldn't have to worry about money. I'm hoping they'll move me to a full-time at the store in the fall. That'll help a lot. And if I get promoted to the deli manager, it'll be another $1.50 an hour. Oswald knew he shouldn't say what he was about to say, but here he went anyway. Ben's dad got a job that pays even better than his old job at the mill. Dad tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Yeah, well, and Ben's dad had to move 500 miles away to get that job. His voice sounded tight as his grip on the wheel, and Oswald could tell his jaw was clenched. Your mom and I talked a lot about it, but we decided not to move, especially with your grandma living here and needing help sometimes. This is our home, kiddo, and things aren't perfect, but we just have to make the best of them. Oswald felt himself crossing the line from grumbling into grounding territory. But why did some people get the best of everything and others had to settle for free library visits and cheap pizza? And so every day you toss me out into the street like garbage. If this is the best of things, I'd hate to see the worst. Now, son, don't you think that's a little dramatic? Oswald didn't stick around to hear the rest of his dad's criticism. He got out of the car and slammed the door. His dad sped away, probably glad to be rid of him. Just as he predicted, the library still didn't have the book he wanted. He flipped through a few magazines, the kind with exotic jungle animals, which he usually liked, but they weren't doing much for him today. When his turn came for the computer, he put in his earbuds and watched some YouTube videos, but he wasn't in a good enough mood to laugh. At lunchtime, he sat at Jeff's Pizza with his slice and soda. Every day, a cheese slice. If his dad wasn't so stingy and give him another $1, he could have pepperoni or a sausage. But no, it had to be the cheapest pizza you could get. Sure, money was tight, but really was another $1 a day going to break the bank? Looking around the place, Oswald decided Ben was right. Jeff's Pizza was creepy. There were all those shadowy, painted-over figures on the walls, the dusty abandoned ball pit. And when he thought about it, Jeff was kind of creepy too. He looked 100 years old and was probably just 30, with those heavy-lidded, bloodshot eyes and stained apron, and the slow speech and movement. He was like a zombie pizza chef. Oswald thought about his argument with Dad that morning. Soon, Dad would be texting him, expecting him to come outside to the car. Well, today was going to be different. Today, Dad would have to come in and find him, and there was one perfect place to hide. Oswald was going to get into the pit. The pit was pretty gross, really, obviously untouched for years. The plastic spheres were covered in a gray, fuzzy dust, but hiding there would be a great prank on his dad. His dad, who was always just dropping him off and picking it up like somebody's dry cleaning, would actually have to get out of the car and make an effort for a change. Oswald wouldn't make it easy for him either. Oswald took off his shoes. Yes, the ball pit was disgusting, but at least getting into it would make today different from all the other days he came in before it. He climbed into the pit, felt the balls parting to make room for his body. He moved his arms and legs. It was a little like swimming, if you could swim in dry plastic spheres. He found his footing at the bottom of the pit. Some of the balls were strangely sticky, but he tried to not think about why. If he was going to trick his dad, he was going to have to go all the way under. He took a deep breath as if he were to jump into a swimming pool, and fell to his knees. That put him up to his neck. Wiggling around, he was sitting on the pit's floor, but his head was under too. No. Wiggling around, so he was sitting on the pit's floor, but his head under too. Put his head under too. Dyslexia is kicking in, my bad, chat. The balls spread apart far enough so that he could breathe, but it was dark and it made him feel claustrophobic. The place stank of dust and mildew. Pink eye, he could hear his mother's voice saying, "You're going to get pink eye." Alright, let's get this horn shard. I think that's her glowing enough. It's harder to tell in the daylight. Bonk. Yep, there it is. Boop boop. There it is. We're back in position. The smell was really getting to him. The dust tickled his nose. He felt a sneeze coming on, but he couldn't move his hand through the spears fast enough to reach his nose to muffle it. He sneezed 3 times, each one louder than the one before. Oswald didn't know if his dad was looking for him yet, but if he was, the sneezing ball pit had probably given away his location. Besides, it was too dark and too gross in there. He had to come up from air. As he rose, his ears were assaulted by the sound of beeping electronics and yelling and laughing children. It took a few seconds for his eyes to adjust from the darkness of the pit to the brightness that now surrounded him of flashing lights and vivid colors. He looked around and muttered, "Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore." The walls were lined with shiny arcade cabinets housing games he'd heard of his dad talk about in his own childhood. Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger, Q*bert, Galaga. A neon-lighted claw machine displayed a plush blue elf-like creatures and orange cartoon cats. He looked down at the pit and realized he was surrounded by little kids wallowing in the strangely clean and now brightly colored plastic orbs. He stood over the preschoolers like a giant. He stepped out of the pit to find his shoes, but they were gone. Standing on the colorful carpet in his socked feet, he looked around. There were lots of kids his age and younger, but there was something different about them. Everyone's hair was styled and fluffy. The boys wore polo shirts and colors lots of guys wouldn't be caught dead in, like pink or aqua. The girls' hair was almost unbelievably big, with bangs that stood out from their foreheads like claws. They wore pastel-colored tops and matched their pastel-colored shoes. The colors, the lights, the sounds, it was sensory overload. And what was that music? Oswald looked around to see where it was coming from. Across the room on a small stage, a trio of animatronic animals blinked their big blank eyes open. Blinked their big blank eyes, open and closed their mouth, and pivoted back and forth in sync with a jangly, annoying song. There was a brown bear, a blue rabbit with a red bow tie, and some kind of bird girl. They reminded Oswald of the mechanical animals he had caught himself drawing lately. The difference was he could never decide if the animals in his drawings were cute or creepy. These were creepy. Strangely, though, the dozen or so little kids surrounding the stage didn't seem to think so. They were wearing birthday party hats with pictures of the characters on them, dancing and laughing and having a great time. When the smell of pizzas hit Oswald's nose, he understood. He was still in Jeff's Pizzas. Or, more accurately, what Jeff's Pizza had been before Jeff took over. The ball pit was new and not roped off. All the outlets on the walls had arcade games plugged into them, and he turned around to face the left wall. The shapes of the shadows on the wall of Jeff's Pizza were a mural of the same characters performing on the stage. The brown bear, the blue rabbit, and the bird girl. Below their faces were the words, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Oswald's inside turned to ice water. How had this happened? He knew where he was, but he didn't know when it was, or how he got there. Somebody bumped into him, and he jumped more than was normal. Since he felt the physical contact, this must not be a dream. He couldn't decide if this fact was good news or not. "Sorry, dude," the kid said. He was about Oswald's age, wearing a light yellow polo with the collar turned up, tucked into what looked like a pair of dad jeans. The white tennis shoes he had on were huge, like clown shoes. He looked as if he had spent a long time fixing his hair. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, sure," Oswald said. He wasn't sure if he was okay, actually, but he didn't know how to begin to explain a situation. "I've not seen you here before," Kid said. "Yeah," Oswald said, trying to figure out an explanation that wouldn't sound too weird. "I'm just visiting here, staying with my grandma for a few weeks. This place is great, though. All these old games." "Old games?" the kid said, raising an eyebrow. "You're joking, right? I don't know I don't know about where you're from, but Freddy's got the newest games around. That's why the lines to play them are so long." "Oh, yeah, I was just kidding," Oswald said, because he couldn't think of anything else to say. He had heard his dad talk about playing these games when he was a kid. Absurdly hard games, he said, on which he had wasted many hours and many quarters. Hold on. Alright. "I'm Chip," the kid said, running his fingers through his poofy hair. "Me and my buddy Mike." He nodded at a tall black kid wearing huge eyeglasses and a shirt with wide red and blue stripes. "We're about to play some skee-ball. Want to come with?" "Sure," Oswald said. It was nice to hang out with some other kids, even if they seemed to be the kids from another time. He didn't think this was a dream, but it sure was a weird one. "You got a name?" Mike said, looking at Oswald like he was some kind of strange specimen. "Oh, sure. I'm Oswald." He had been too weirded out to remember to introduce himself. Mike gave him a friendly slap on the back. "Well, I gotta warn you, Oswald. I'm a beast at skee-ball. But I'll go easy on you since you're new here." "Thanks for having mercy on me," Oswald said. He followed them to the skee-ball area. On the way, they passed somebody in a rabbit suit that looked like a yellow version of the animatronic rabbit on the stage. Nobody else seemed to be paying attention to the rabbit guy, so Oswald didn't say anything. It was probably a Freddy Fazbear employee dressed up to entertain little kids at the birthday party. Mike wasn't kidding about being a beast at skee-ball. He easily beat Chip and Oswald by 3 times. Easily beat Chip and Oswald 3 times. But he was a good sport, and they spent the whole time joking around. It felt good being included. But after another couple of games, Oswald started to worry. What time was it really? How long had his dad been looking for him? And how was he going to get back to his real life? Sure, he wanted to give Dad a little scare, but he didn't want to scare the old man so much He wanted to give Dad a little scare, but didn't want to scare the old man so much he got the police involved. "Hey guys, I better run. My grandma," he almost said, just texted me, but realized Chip and Mike wouldn't have no idea what he was talking about. "My grandma's, wherever this was, they have no cell phones. My grandma's supposed to pick me up in a few minutes." "Okay, dude, maybe we'll catch you later," Chip said. Mike gave a little nod and a wave. Oswald left his companions, stood in a corner in his socked feet, and wondered what to do. He was having some kind of magical experience. He was late getting back, and he was missing his shoes. He was like some kind of mixed-up guy Cinderella. How to get back? He could walk out the front door of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Freddy Fazbear's? But where would that take him? It might be to the right place to find his dad's car waiting, but it wasn't. It might be the right place to find his dad's car waiting, but it wasn't the right time. Not the right decade even. I need to slow it down. My tongue is getting in the way. That's the one thing. Anytime I read out loud for an extended period of time, even if I'm having fun, the dyslexia catches up. But it's all good. Because we having fun. We chillin'. Ooh. Alright. Then it dawned on him. Maybe the way out was the same way he got in, at the ball pit. A mom was telling her 2 little kids it was time to leave. They tried to argue with her, but she turned on her stern mom voice and threatened them with early bedtime. Once they got out, he got in. He sank beneath the surface before anyone could see that a kid over the height limit was in the ball pit. How long to stay under? Randomly, he decided to count to 100, then stand. He rose to his feet, found himself standing in the dusty, roped-off ball pit at Jeff's Pizza. He climbed out, found his shoes right where he left them. His phone vibrated in his pocket. There's a bug on me. Alright. He rose to his feet and found himself standing in the dusty, roped-off ball pit at Jeff's Pizza. He climbed out and found his shoes right where he'd left them. His phone vibrated in his pocket. He took it out and read, "We'll be there in 2 min." Had no time passed at all? He headed out the door and Jeff called, "See ya, kid," behind him. Oh my goodness, I'm falling off her face. Let's get this horn. Let's get this horn chart. Whoa. Bonk. Bonk. How many have we got now? 16? That's pretty good. Doo-doo. I always want to try and keep 10 on me for fuse reasons. But then I like selling everything else so that I can actually get money. This looks great, Mom, Oswald said, spearing a sausage link with his fork. You're in a good mood today. Mom slid a waffle onto his plate. Quite a contrast from yesterday where you were Mr. Grumpy Pants. Yeah, Oswald said. They're supposed to get my book in the library today. The statement was true, but it wasn't the reason Oswald was in a good mood. Of course, it wasn't like he could tell her the real reason. If he said, "I discovered a ball pit at Jeff's Pizza that lets me travel in time," Mom would be dropping the waffles and picking up the phone to call the nearest child psychologist. Oswald picked up his book at the library, but was too impatient to read it. He headed over to Jeff's Pizza as soon as he opened at 11. Jeff was in the kitchen when he got there, so he made a beeline for the pit. He shucked off his shoes, stepped in, and sank into the depths. Since it had seemed to work before, he counted to 100 before he stood up. The animatronic band was playing some weird jangly song that was partially drowned out by the beeping, blipping, and dinging of a variety of games. He wandered the floor and took in the video games. The whack-a-mole, the neon-lighted token suckers that let you win some tickets, but probably not, if you pushed them button at the right time. Older kids crowded around the video games. Preschoolers climbed on the crayon-colored play equipment. Pink eye, Oswald thought, though he had no room to talk with the way he was diving into ball pits these days. Everything looked as it had before. He had even caught sight of a calendar hanging in the open office that helped him pinpoint the date. 1985. Hey, it's Oswald! Chip was wearing a baby blue polo with his dad jeans and giant sneakers this time. Not a hair on his head was out of place. Hey, Oz, Mike said. He was wearing a Back to the Future t-shirt. Has anybody ever called you that? Like the Wizard of Oz? They do now, Oz said, grinning. He had gone from having the loneliest summer ever to having 2 new friends, and a nickname. True, all of these seemed to be happening in the mid-1980s, but why get hung up on the details? Hey, Chip said, we just ordered a pizza. You want to come have some? We ordered a large, so there's more than we can eat. Speak for yourself, Mike said, but he was grinning. Okay, well, how about I say it's more than we should eat? Want to join us? Oswald was curious about how Freddy Fazbear's pizza compares with Jeff's. Sure, thanks. On their way to the table, they passed someone in that same yellow rabbit suit who was standing in a corner, still as a statue. Chip and Mike either didn't see him or ignored him, so Oswald tried to ignore him as well. Why hide in the corner like that, though? If he worked for a restaurant, surely he wasn't supposed to act all creepy. At the table, a young woman with big blonde hair and blue eyeshadow served them a large pizza and a pitcher of soda. In the background, the animatronic band played on. The pizza, pepperoni, and sausage with a crisp crust. A nice change from the plain cheese slices. You know, Mike said in between bites, When I was little, I loved Freddy Fazbear's Band. I even had a stuffed Freddy I used to sleep with. Now I look up on the stage and those things give me the creeps. It's weird, huh? How you like stuff as a little kid, how stuff you liked as a little kid gets creepy when you're older? Chip helped himself to another slice. Like clowns. Yeah, or dolls, Mike said between bites. Sometimes I look at my sister's dolls all lined up on the shelf in our room, and it's like they're staring at me. Or like that guy in the yellow rabbit costume, Oswald thought, but he didn't say anything. After they demolished the pizza, they played some skee-ball. Mike mopping the floor with them again, but being really nice about it. Oswald didn't worry about the time anymore, because apparently time here didn't pass the same way in his own time zone. After skee-ball, they took turns playing air hockey in pairs. Oswald was surprisingly decent at it, even managing to beat Mike once. When they started to run low on tokens, Oswald thanked them for sharing their wealth and said he hoped to see them again soon. After they said their goodbyes, Oswald waited until no one was looking and disappeared into the pit. Hanging out with Chip and Mike turned into a regular thing. Today, they weren't even playing games. They were just sitting in a booth, drinking sodas, and talking, trying to ignore the animatronic animals' annoying music as much as they could. You know what movie I liked? Chip said. His polo shirt was peach-colored today. Oswald loved the guy, but really, didn't he own one shirt that wasn't the color of an Easter egg? The Eternal Song. Seriously? Mike said, pushing his huge glasses up on his nose. That movie is so boring. I was like, The Eternal Song is the perfect title for this movie because I don't think it's ever gonna end. They all laughed, and then Chip said, What do you think of it, Oz? Or, what did you think of it, Oz? I haven't seen that one, Oswald said. He said that a lot when hanging out with Chip and Mike. Oswald always listened to them talk about movies and shows they liked, but when they mentioned ones he didn't know, he'd look it up online when he got home. He made a list of 80s movies he wanted to watch and checked the TV listings on the DVR to see if any of them might be showing. Oswald participated in Chip's and Mike's conversation as much as he could. It was kind of like being a foreign exchange student. He sometimes had to fake his way through by smiling and nodding and being generally agreeable. Man, you need to get out more, Mike said. Maybe you can go to the movies with Chip and me sometime. That'd be cool, Oswald said, because what else could he say? Actually, I'm from a distant future, and I don't think it could physically possible for me to see you anyplace but in Freddy Fazbear's in 1985. They'd both think it was a joke on Mike because They'd both think that it was a joke on Mike because his favorite movie was Back to the Future. Name one movie you've seen that you really... Hold on. Name one movie you've seen that you really like. Chip said to Oswald. I'm trying to figure out what your taste is. Oswald's mind went blank. It was a movie from the 80s. What was a movie from the 80s? E.T.? E.T.? Mike slapped the table, laughing. E.T. was like 3 years ago. You really do need to get out more. Do they not have movie theaters where you come from? They do, Oswald thought. And they have Netflix and PlayStation and YouTube and social media. But he didn't say it. Of course, there was technology Chip and Mike talked about that he only had the vaguest knowledge of, like VCRs and boomboxes and cassette tapes. And he constantly had to remind himself not to talk about things like cell phones and tablets and the internet. He tried to not wear t-shirts with characters and references that might confuse them, or any other customers at the 1985 Freddy Fazbear's. Yeah, we definitely need to bring you up to date, Chip said. If only you knew, Oswald thought. Hey, do you want to play some games? Mike said. I feel the skee ball calling me, but I promise I'll go easy on you guys. Chip laughed. No, you won't. You'll murder us. You guys go ahead, Oswald said. I think I'll just stay at the table. What, and watch the show? Mike said, nodding in the direction of the creepy characters on the stage. Is something wrong? If you suddenly decided you like Freddy Fazbear's music, we need to get you help fast. No, nothing's wrong, Oswald said. But really, something was. For his first few visits to 1985 Freddy Fazbear's, it hadn't even occurred to him that he was basically mooching off of Chip's and Mike's generosity, because he never had any money of his own. And even if he wasn't broke in his own time, zone, would the money he brought back from present day even work in 1985? It was kind of pitiful being broke in 2 decades. Finally, he said, I just feel like I'm always taking your money because I never have any. Hey, dude, it's cool, Chip said. We hadn't even noticed. Yeah, Mike said. We just figured your grandma never gave you any money. I know my grandma doesn't except when it's my birthday. They were being really nice, but Oswald still felt embarrassed. If they had talked about his lack of money, that meant they had noticed it. How about I just go hang out with you while you play? Oswald said. When he stood up, he felt a strange heaviness in his pocket. Something in them was so heavy it felt like his jeans might fall down. Hold on. He reached into his pocket and pulled out double handfuls of 1985 Freddy Fazbear game tokens. He produced a handful after handful and dumped them onto the table. Or we could all play using these, he said. He had no idea how to explain the magic that just occurred. I guess I forgot I was wearing these pants? The ones that had all the tokens in them? Chip and Mike looked a little confused, but then they grinned and started raking coins from the table into their empty soda cups. Oswald did the same. He decided to just go with the weirdness. He didn't know how the tokens got there, but then again, he really didn't know how he got there either. Boop. Alright, Twinks. In the morning, Dad was driving him to the library. Oswald asked, Dad, how old were you in 1985? I was just a couple years older than you, Dad said. And other than baseball, all I could think about was how many quarters I had to spend at the arcade. Why do you ask? No particular reason, Oswald said. I've just been doing some research. Jeff's Pizza, back before it was Jeff's Pizza, was some kind of arcade, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Dad's voice sounded strange. Nervous, maybe? He was quiet for a few seconds, but then said, but it closed. Like everything else in this town, Oswald said. Pretty much, yeah. Dad said, pulling up to in front of the library. Maybe it was Oswald's imagination, but it seemed like his dad was relieved to get to their destination so he wouldn't have to answer any more questions. At 11 o'clock sharp, Oswald headed over to Jeff's Pizza. As had become his habit, with Jeff nowhere in sight, Oswald proceeded to the pit. After his count to 100, he stood. There were noises, but not the usual one of Freddy Fazbear's. Screams, crying children, yells for help, the fast footfalls of people running, chaos. Were Chip and Mike here? Were they okay? Was anybody here okay? He was afraid. Part of him wanted to disappear back into the pit, but he was worried about his friends. Also, he was burning with curiosity to know what was going on. Even though he knew whatever it was horrible. He wasn't in danger, he told himself, because this was the past, in a time way before he was born. His life couldn't be in danger in a time where he even existed. Could it? His stomach in knots, he moved through the crowd, past crying mothers running with their toddlers in their arms, past dads grasping children's hands and leading them away swiftly towards the exit, their faces masks of shock. Chip? Mike? He called. But his friends were nowhere to be seen. Maybe they hadn't come to Freddy Fazbear's today? Maybe they were safe? Scared, but feeling as if he had to know what had happened. What was happening? Oswald walked in the opposite direction from everyone else with an escalating fear of dread. In front of him stood the man in the yellow bunny costume. If it was a man under there. The bunny opened the door that said private and went inside. Oswald followed. The corridor was long and dark. The rabbit looked at him with blank eyes and an unchanging grin, then walked farther down the hall. Oswald wasn't chasing the rabbit. He was letting the rabbit lead him, as if he were going into a terrifying version of Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole. The rabbit stopped in front of a door with a sign reading Party Room, and beckoned Oswald to come inside. Oswald was shaking with terror, but he was too curious to refuse. Besides, he kept thinking, you can't hurt me. I haven't even been born. Once inside the room, it took Oswald a few seconds to register what he was actually seeing, and a few more seconds for his brain to process it. They were lined up against the wall, which was painted with images of the place's mascot: the grinning bear, the blue bunny, the bird girl, half a dozen kids, none of them older than Oswald. Their lifeless bodies propped into sitting positions, their legs stretched out in front of them. Some of them have their eyes closed as if asleep. Other eyes were open, frozen and empty, doll-like stares. You guys have horrible timing. Hold on. Apparently I don't get those bits. Alright, that's fine. Are you glowing with horn time? Apparently so. Cool. I was getting too into the story, apparently. I didn't notice. Whoop! Fell right off. It's fine. We crouch. It doesn't do anything like Minecraft crouching does, but it's fine. Alright. Doll-like stare. They were all wearing Freddy Fazbear birthday party hats. Oswald couldn't tell how they had died, but he knew the rabbit was responsible for it. That rabbit had wanted him to see his handiwork. Maybe the rabbit wanted Oswald to be his next victim, to join the others lined up against the wall with their unseeing eyes. Oswald screamed. The yellow rabbit lunged for him, and he ran back out the room, down the black corridor. Maybe the rabbit could hurt him. Maybe he couldn't. Oswald didn't want to hang around long enough to find out. He ran across the now empty arcade towards the ball pit. Outside, police sirens screams matched Oswald's own. The rabbit ran after him, getting so close that a fuzzy paw brushed Oswald's back. Oswald dove into the pit. He counted to 100 as fast as he could. When he stood up, the first thing he heard was Jeff's voice. "There's a little stinker." Oswald turned to see his dad stomping towards him while Jeff looked on. Dad looked furious, and Jeff didn't look happy either. Not that he ever did. Oswald stood frozen, too overwhelmed to move. Dad grabbed his arm, pulling him out of the ball pit. "What were you thinking hiding in that nasty old thing?" Dad said. "Didn't you hear me calling you?" After Oswald was out, his dad leaned over the pit. "Look how dirty this is. Your mother..." A pair of yellow arms reached out from the pit and pulled Dad under. The struggle would have been cartoonish if it hadn't been so terrifying. Dad's feet in their brown work boots kicked up to the surface, only to disappear below. Then a pair of big fuzzy yellow feet appeared, only to disappear too. The balls in the pits rolled like a stormy sea, and then they were still. The yellow rabbit rose from the pit, adjusted his purple bow tie, brushed off the front, and turned towards Oswald, grinning. Oswald backed away, and the rabbit was beside him, an arm firmly around Oswald's shoulders, guiding him towards the exit. Oswald looked at Jeff, who stood behind the counter. Maybe Jeff could help him? But Jeff wore the same hangdog expression he always wore, and just said, "See you later, guys." How could anyone act like this situation was normal? Once the rabbit got him outside and opened the passenger door of Dad's car and pushed Oswald in. Oswald watched as the bunny buckled its seatbelt and started the car. He tried to open the door, but the bunny had activated the power lock from the driver's side. The bunny's mouth was frozen in a rictus grin. Its eyes stared blankly. Oswald pushed the unlock button again, even though he knew it wouldn't work. "Wait," Oswald said. "How can you do any of this? Can you even drive a car?" The bunny said nothing, but started the car and pulled out into the street. It stopped at a red light, so Oswald figured it must be able to see. I must know the basic rules of driving. What did you do to my dad? Where are you taking me? Oswald could hear the panic in his voice. He wanted to sound strong and brave, like he was standing up for himself, but instead he sounded scared and confused, which he was. The bunny said nothing. The car made a familiar right turn, then a familiar left into Oswald's neighborhood. How do you know where I live? Oswald demanded. Still silent, the bunny turned towards the driveway at the front of Oswald's ranch-style house. I'll run for it, Oswald thought. As soon as this thing unlocks the door, I'll run to the neighbor's house and call the police, once I'm safely inside. The locks clicked, and Oswald jumped out of the car. Somehow, the bunny was standing right in front of him. It grabbed his arm. He tried to break free, but its grip was too strong. The bunny dragged Oswald to the front door and yanked off the chain around Oswald's neck that held his house key. The rabbit turned the key to the door and shoved Oswald inside, then just stood in front of the door, blocking the exit. Jinx the cat wandered into the living room, took one look at the rabbit, and arched her back, puffed out her tail, and hissed like a cat on a Halloween decoration. Oswald had never seen her act scared or unfriendly before, and watched as she turned tail and fled down the hall. If Jinx knew the situation was bad, it must be really bad. You can't do this, Oswald said to the rabbit in tears. He didn't want to cry. He wanted to look strong, but he couldn't help it. This is kidnapping, or something. My mom will come home soon, and she'll call the police. It was a total bluff, of course. Mom wouldn't even be home until after midnight. Would he even be alive by then? Mom got home. Was his dad even alive now? Or would he even be alive by the time Mom got home? Was his dad even alive now? He knew the bunny would grab him if he tried to make a run for the door. I'm going to my room now, okay? I'm not trying to escape. I'm just going to my room. He backed away, and the bunny let him. As soon as he got inside the room, he slammed the door and locked it. He took deep breaths and tried to think. There was a window in his room, but it was high and too small to climb through. Under his bed, Jinx let out a low growl. Oswald could hear the bunny outside his door. If he made a phone call, it would hear him. Maybe he could send a text? He took out his phone with shaking hands and texted, Mom, emergency. Something's wrong with Dad. Come home now. Oswald knew even as he texted that she wouldn't be coming home now, because she was always dealing with medical emergencies at work. Sometimes it took her a long time to check her phone. It was Dad who Oswald was supposed to contact in the event of an emergency, but obviously that wasn't going to work now. A miserable hour passed until Oswald's phone vibrated. Afraid the rabbit might still be listening outside, he locked his door. He picked up without saying hello. Oswald, what's going on? Mom sounded terrified. Do I need to call 911? I can't talk now, Oswald whispered. I'm on my way home, okay? She hung up. 15 minutes seemed to pass more slowly than Oswald thought was possible. Then there was a knock on Oswald's door. Oswald jumped, his heart in his throat. Who is it? It's me, Mom said, sounding exasperated. Open the door. He opened the door just a crack to make sure it was really her. Once he let her in, he closed and locked the door behind them. Oswald, you need to tell me what's going on. Mom's brow was furrowed with worry. Where to start? How to explain without sounding crazy? It's Dad. He's not okay. I'm not even sure where he is. Mom put her hands on both his shoulders. Oswald, I just saw your dad. He's lying on the bed in our bedroom watching TV. He made you chicken pot pie for dinner and is sitting on the stove. What? I'm not hungry. He tried to wrap a mind around Mom's word. You saw Dad? Mom nodded. She was looking at him like he was one of her patients instead of her kid. Like she was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. And he's okay? She nodded again. He's okay. But I'm worried about you. She put her hand on his forehead as if checking for a fever. I'm okay, Oswald said. I mean, if Dad's okay, I'm okay. He just didn't seem okay. Maybe it's good school starting back. I think you're spending too much time by yourself. What could he say? Actually, I've been spending time with my new friends in 1985. Maybe so. I probably should just go to bed. I have to get an early start in the morning. I think that's a good idea, Mom said. She put her hands on his cheeks and looked directly in his eyes. And listen, if you're going to text me at work, make sure it's a real emergency. You scared me. I thought it was a real emergency. I'm sorry. It's all right, honey. Just get some rest, okay? Okay. After Mom left, Oswald looked under the bed. Jinx was still there, crouched in a ball like she was trying to make herself small and invisible as possible. Her eyes wide and looking terrified. It's okay, Jinxie, Oswald said, reaching under the bed, wiggling his fingers at her. Mom says it's safe. You can come out now. The cat wouldn't budge. Oswald laid awake in bed. If Mom said Dad was there and okay, then it must be true. Why would she lie? But Oswald knew what he'd seen. He'd seen the yellow thing, as he had started to think about it, drag his dad into the pit. He had seen the yellow thing climb out of the pit, felt its grip on his arm, sat beside it in the car as it drove him home. Or had he? If Mom said Dad was home and okay, he must be. Oswald trusted his mom, but if Dad was okay, it meant Oswald hadn't seen what he thought he saw. That must mean that Oswald was losing his mind. Ah, my throat. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Alright, let's get bonk. Noise. Boop. Back in position. After a few hours of fitful sleep, Oswald woke to the aroma of frying ham and baking biscuits. His stomach rumbled, reminding him he had missed dinner that night. Everything felt normal. Maybe he should just treat yesterday like a bad dream and try to move forward. A new school year, a new beginning. He stopped in the bathroom, then made his way to the kitchen. Feeling better? Mom asked. There she was, her hair in a ponytail, wearing her pink fuzzy bathrobe, fixing breakfast just as always. Something about this fact made Oswald feel tremendously relieved. Yeah, he said. I'm pretty hungry, actually. Now, that's a problem I can fix, Mom said. She set down a plate with 2 ham biscuits and poured him a glass of orange juice. Oswald ate the first ham biscuit in 3 big bites. The yellow thing walked in and sat across from him at the breakfast table. Mom? Oswald's heart beat like a jackhammer in his chest. The ham biscuit sat heavy in his churning stomach. What is it, hun? Her back was turned as she fiddled with the coffee maker. Where's Dad? She turned around, the coffee pot in her hand. Oswald, your dad's sitting right across from you. If this is some kind of elaborate prank, you can cut it out right now because it has officially stopped being funny. She poured a cup of coffee, set it down in front of the yellow thing, which stared straight ahead, its mouth set in an unchanging grin. Oswald knew he wasn't getting anywhere. Either he was insane, or his mom was. Okay, I understand. I'll cut it out. I apologize. May I be excused so I can get ready for school? Of course, Mom said, but she was looking at him kind of funny again. Oswald stopped at a bathroom to brush his teeth, and then went to his room and get his backpack. He peeked under the bed to find Jinx still hiding there. Well, it's good to know there's somebody else in this family who has some sense, he said. When Oswald came back to the door, the yellow thing was standing by the door, car keys in its paw. Is, Dad taking me to school? Oswald asked. He didn't know if he could bear sitting beside it in the car again, hoping it was watching the road as it stared through the windshield with its empty eyes. Doesn't he always? Mom said. He could hear the worry in her voice. Have a good day, okay? Seeing no choice, Oswald got in the car beside the yellow thing. Once again, it locked all the doors from the driver's side. It backed out of the driveway, past a jogging neighbor who waved at it just as if it were his dad. I don't understand, Oswald said on the edge of tears. Are you real? Is this real? Am I going crazy? The yellow thing said nothing, just stared at the road ahead. When it pulled in front of the Westbrook Middle School, the crossing guard and the kid crosswalks didn't seem to notice that the car was being driven by the giant yellow rabbit. Hey, Oswald said before he got out the car. Don't bother picking me up this afternoon. I'll just catch the bus. The school bus was a big yellow thing he could handle. Because it was some kind of cosmic law, the first person he saw was Dylan, his tormentor. Well, if it isn't Oswald give it a rest, Dylan, Oswald said, pushing past him. I got way bigger problems than you today. It was impossible to concentrate in class. Usually Oswald was a pretty decent student, but how could he focus with his life and possibly his sanity falling apart? Maybe he could talk to someone, the school counselor or the school police officer? He knew that anything that came out of his mouth would sound dangerously crazy. How could he convince a police officer that his dad is missing if everyone who looked at the yellow thing saw Oswald's dad? There was no one to help him. Oswald was going to have to figure out how to solve this problem himself. At recess, he sat on a bench on the playground, grateful that he didn't have to pretend to listen to a teacher and could just think. He couldn't imagine how his life could get any weirder. The yellow thing just seemed to think it was his father. This was weird enough, but why did everybody else think it was his father too? Do you mind if I share your bench? It was a girl Oswald had never seen before. She had curly black hair and big brown eyes and was holding a thick book. Sure, help yourself. Help yourself. The girl sat down on the opposite end of the bench and opened her book. Oswald went back to his confusing thoughts. Have you gone to the school for a long time? The girl asked him after a few minutes. She didn't look at all. I keep accidentally switching pages. She didn't look over at Oswald when she talked, just kept staring at the pages of her book. Oswald wondered if this meant she was shy. Since kindergarten, Oswald said. Then, since he couldn't think of a single thing to say. Single other thing to say about himself, he asked, What are you reading? Greek mythology, she said. Tales of heroes. Have you read much mythology? No, not really, he said, feeling stupid immediately after. He didn't want to give the impression that he was the kind of guy who never read books. In desperation, he added, I love to read, though, he said, then he felt even stupider. Me too, she said. I've probably read this book 12 times. It's like a comfort book for me. I read it whenever I need to be brave. The word brave struck a chord with Oswald. Brave. That's what he needed to be. That's what he needed to be, too. Why's that? Well, the Greek heroes are super brave. They're always doing battle with some kind of big monster, like the Minotaur or the Hydra. It kind of puts things into perspective, you know? No matter how bad my problems are, at least I don't have to do battle with a monster. Yeah, Oswald said, even though he was trying to figure out how to do battle with a monster. A yellow, long-eared monster. In his own home. He couldn't tell this girl about the yellow thing, though. She would think he was crazy, and then would be leaving their shared bench in a hurry. So, you said you read that book when you need to be brave? He was surprised he was having this conversation, given the way his mind was racing. For some reason, this girl was easy to talk to. I mean, it may be none of my business, but I was wondering why you needed to be brave? She gave a shy little smile. First day at a new school, third day in a new town. I don't know anybody yet. Yes, you do, he said. He held out his hands. I'm Oswald. He didn't know why he was offering his hand like he was some kind of businessman, but it felt like the right thing to do. She took his hand and shook it surprisingly firmly. I'm Gabrielle. Somehow, this was the conversation Oswald had needed to have. He took the bus home from school. When he came inside, the yellow thing was vacuuming the living room. He didn't ask it any more questions. It wasn't as if you could give him any answers anyways. And besides, if he was going to make his plan work, He was going to have to act like everything was normal. And anybody who had seen him in a 4th grade class play knew acting was not one of his talents. Ooh. These are some long stories. Acting was not one of his talents. Where am I? Alright, there it is. Instead, he did what he was supposed to do when life was normal. When his real dad vacuumed the living room, he got out the feather duster out of the cleaning closet and dusted the coffee table, the ends tables, and the lamps. He emptied the wastebasket and neatened the throw pillows on the couch. Then he went to the kitchen and took out the garbage and the recycling. Once he was outside, it was tempting to run, but he knew running was not the answer. If everybody saw the yellow thing as his dad, nobody would help him. The yellow thing would always catch him. He went back inside. His chores done, he walked right past the yellow thing. I'm gonna go chill out for a while before dinner, he said, even though the possibility of relaxing in any way was unimaginable. He went to his room, but didn't close the door. Instead, he took off his shoes, sprawled on the bed, and started drawing in his textbook. He didn't want to draw the mechanical animals, but they seemed to be all he could draw. He shut his sketchbook and started reading some manga, or at least pretending to. Normal. The plan could only work if he acted like everything was normal. When the rabbit appeared in his doorway, he managed to not gasp. It beckoned for him, the same way it had when it led him to the murder room at Freddy Fazbear's, and he followed it into the kitchen. On the table, there was one of the grocery store pizzas his dad kept in the freezer, baked to a pleasing golden brown. The 2 glasses of fruit punch Oswald liked. The pizza had already been sliced, which was a relief, because Oswald couldn't imagine what he would have done if he had seen that thing holding a knife. Run screaming out into the street, probably. Oswald sat down at the table and helped himself to a slice of pizza. He didn't feel much like eating, but he knew he couldn't act like anything was wrong. He took a big bite of pizza and a sip of punch. Aren't you gonna eat anything, Dad? He asked. It was hard to call the thing Dad, but he managed. The yellow thing sat across from him in silence with an unblinking stare and frozen grin, an untouched pizza slice on a plate in front of him, besides an untouched glass of punch. Could it even eat? Oswald wondered. Did it need to? What was it anyway? At first he thought it was a guy in a suit, but now he wasn't so sure. Was it some kind of highly sophisticated animatronic animal? Or a real flesh and blood giant bunny? He didn't know which possibility was the most disturbing. With great effort, he finished his pizza slice and a glass of punch, and then he said, Thanks for dinner, Dad. I'm gonna get a glass of milk and go do my homework now. The yellow thing just sat there. Oswald went to the refrigerator. He checked to make sure that the yellow thing wasn't watching, and poured some milk into a bowl. Once he was in his room, he didn't close and lock the door, because normally if he were home with Dad, because he wouldn't if he were home with Dad. Normal is to not arouse suspicion. He slid the bowl of milk under his bed where Jinx was still hiding. It's gonna be okay, girl, he whispered. He hoped he was right. He sat on his bed and in a few minutes heard Jinx lapping the milk. He knew from past experience that even when terrified, she couldn't turn down dairy products. He made a half-hearted attempt at his homework, but he couldn't concentrate. All he could think about was where was his dad. The yellow thing had dragged his dad into the pit under the surface. Did this mean his dad was at Freddy Fazbear circa 1985? Wandering around the arcade games like he had played when he was a kid? Ooh. Horn time. Bonk. Ooh. I just landed right on her eye. I'm sorry. Doo-doo. There we go. Back in business. Alright. Did this mean his dad was at Freddy Fazbear circa 1985, wandering around an arcade of games he had played as a kid? That was the most likely explanation. And yes, unless the yellow thing had killed. No. No, he couldn't let himself think that. His dad was alive. He had to be. The only way to know was to go back into the pit. But first, he was going to have to get out of the house without the yellow thing noticing. Oswald waited until dark, then waited some more. Finally, he grabbed his shoes and tiptoed out of his room, into the hall in his socked feet. Alright. We pause because these things are here now. I'll take the eye. The door to his parents' bedroom was open. He sneaked past a glance as he crept past. The yellow thing was lying on its back in his parents' bed. It appeared to be staring at the ceiling. Or maybe it wasn't staring? Maybe it was asleep. It was hard to tell since his eyes didn't close. Did it even need to sleep? Holding his breath, he passed his parents' room and tiptoed into the kitchen. If the yellow thing caught him, he could always say he was getting a drink of water. The kitchen was the best escape route. The door there was less squeaky than the front door. He slipped into his shoes, pulled the door open slowly, inch by inch. When it was open just wide enough, he slipped through and shut it softly behind him. Then he ran. He ran through his neighborhood, past neighbors walking their dogs, kids riding their bicycles. Some people looked at Oswald strangely, and he couldn't figure out why. People ran in this neighborhood all the time. But then he realized he wasn't running like he was doing it for exercise. He was running like something was chasing him. And it might be. It was a long way to Jeff's Pizza on foot, and Oswald knew he couldn't keep up the pace all the way there. He slowed to a walk after he was out of his neighborhood, and chose to walk side streets instead of more direct routes so he'd be harder to follow. He was afraid Jeff's Pizza might close by the time he reached it, but when he arrived, hot and out of breath, the lighted open sign was still on. Inside, Jeff was at the counter watching the ball game on the TV, but otherwise this place was empty. You know, we just serve whole pizzas at night. No slices, Jeff said in his usual monotone. As always, he looked exhausted. Yeah, I just stopped by to get a soda to go, Oswald said, his gaze roaming to the roped-off ball pit. Jeff looked a little puzzled, but finally said, Okay, let me get a pie out of the oven, then I'll get it for you. Orange, right? Right, thanks. As soon as Jeff disappeared into the kitchen, Oswald ran to the back corner and dove into the pit. The familiar musty smell filled his nose as he sank beneath the floor. He sat on the pit's floor, counted to 100 as he always did, even though he wasn't sure it served any purpose in getting him to make the jump to Freddy Fazbear's in 1985. He shifted on the pit's floor and felt something solid press against his lower back. A shoe. It felt like the sole of a shoe. He scooted around and grabbed it. It was a boot. A steel-toed work boot like his dad used to wear to work at the mill, and now wore to his job at the snack place. He moved his hand up and now moved up a little. An ankle in the kind of thick boot sock his dad liked. He crawled farther across the floor to the pit. The face. He had to feel the face. If it was some kind of giant furry head like the yellow things, he might never stop screaming, but he had to find out. His hand found a shoulder. He reached for the chest. He felt the cheap fabric of a white undershirt. He was shaking as he reached higher. He felt an unmistakably human face. Skin and stubble. A man's face. It was Dad. Was it Dad? And was he... He had to be alive. He had to be. Oswald had seen shows where people who had been in emergency situations suddenly developed amazing strength and found themselves able to lift the front end of a car or a tractor. This was the kind of strength Oswald needed to find. His dad wasn't a big man, but he was still a man, and weighed at least twice as much as his son. He had to move his dad if he was going to save him. And if this even was his dad, if this wasn't some kind of cruel hoax set up by the yellow thing to trap him. Oswald couldn't let himself think these thoughts, not if he was going to do what he had to do. He got behind the person, grabbed under the armpits, and pulled. Nothing happened. Dead weight, Oswald thought. No, not dead. Please, not dead. He pulled again, this time with more force, making a noise that was somewhere between a grunt and a roar. This time the body moved. Oswald pulled again, standing up and getting the person's head and shoulders above the surface. It was his dad, pale and unconscious, but breathing. Definitely breathing. And around them, not Freddy Fazbear's in 1985, but the normal, present-day weirdness of just pizza. How could Oswald get him out? He could call his mom. As a nurse, she would know what to do. But what if she thought he was crazy? Or lying? He felt like a boy who cried wolf, or a boy who cried rabbit. He felt it before he saw it. The presence behind him, the awareness of someone in his personal space. Before he could turn around, a pair of furry yellow arms locked around him in a fearsome embrace. He got his right arm free enough to jab his yellow into the yellow thing's midsection. He got loose, but the thing was blocking the exit to the pit. He couldn't get out of the pit by himself, let alone with his poor, passed-out dad. Acting more than thinking, Oswald charged at the rabbit with his head down. If he could just throw off balance, or knock it under the surface, maybe he could make it end up in 1985 Freddy Fazbear's, and buy Oswald and his dad some time to escape. He headbutted the yellow thing and knocked it into the ropes and netting that surrounded the ball pit. It stumbled a little, righted itself, then, arms outstretched, lunged towards Oswald. It pushed Oswald against the wall of the pit, its eyes dead as always. It unhinged its jaws to reveal double rows of fangs as sharp as scimitars. Mouth open freakishly wide, it lunged for Oswald's throat, but he blocked it with his arm. Pain pierced Oswald's forearm as the yellow thing sank its fangs into his skin. Oswald used his good arm to punch the rabbit hard in the face before the fangs pierced too deeply. Fangs? What kind of crazy rabbit has fangs? The thing's jaw released their grip, but there was no time to survey the damage because the thing was lurching towards Oswald's dad, its jaws wide open, like a snake about to swallow unsuspecting prey. Its fangs were red with Oswald's blood. Oswald elbowed the yellow thing aside, moved between it and his still unconscious father. "You leave my dad alone!" he yelled, then used the netting to bounce off and clamber onto the yellow thing's back. He hit its head with his fists and scratched at its eyes, which didn't feel like a living creature's eyes. The rabbit stumbled into the netting and ropes, then grabbed Oswald's arm and slung him hard off his shoulders and into the pit. Oswald fell headfirst on the surface, grateful that the bottom of the pit was soft. His arm was throbbing, his whole body was exhausted, but he had to get up. He had to save his dad, like those ancient Greek heroes Gabrielle had told him about. He had to be brave and face the monster. Oswald stood unsteadily on his feet. Somehow, when it shook Oswald off, the yellow thing must have gotten tangled in the ropes. And the netting that lined the ball pit. A rope was looping around its neck and grasped the rope with its big paw, trying to get free. Oswald didn't understand why it was failing to free itself until he saw that the yellow thing's feet weren't touching the floor of the pit. The yellow thing was suspended from the rope, which was tied securely to the metal rod of the ball pit. The rabbit had hanged itself. Its mouth was opening and closing like it was grasping for breath, but no sound came out. Its paws clawed desperately at the ropes, its stares still terrifying in its blankness. It was aimed at Oswald's direction, as if it was asking him for help. Oswald certainly wasn't going to rescue it. After a few more seconds of struggling, the yellow thing was still. Oswald blinked. Hanging from the rope was nothing but a dirty, empty yellow rabbit costume. His dad's eyes opened. Oswald rushed to his side. "I don't understand why I'm here," Dad said, his face pale, unshaven, his eyes puffy with dark half-moons under them. "What happened?" And we're going to get to that explanation in a moment, because it's horn time. Take. Bonk. Alright. Oswald debated what to say. You were attacked and left for dead by a giant evil rabbit who tried to replace you, and I was the only person who could even see that it wasn't you. Even Mom thought it was you. No, it sounded too crazy, and Oswald didn't relish the idea of spending years in therapy saying, but the evil rabbit was real. Jinx was the only member of the family who knew the truth, and being a cat, she wasn't going to say anything in his defense. Besides, his dad had already suffered enough. Oswald knew it was wrong to lie. He also knew lying was not a skill he had. So when he tried, he always got all nervous and sweaty and said, a lot. But in this situation, a lie might be the only way forward. He took a deep breath. So, I hid in the ball pit to play a prank on you which I shouldn't have done. You came to look for me, and I guess you must have hit your head and lost consciousness? Oswald took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean for things to get so out of hand. This part, at least, was the truth. I accept your apology, son, Dad said. You didn't sound mad, just tired. But you're right. You shouldn't have done it. And Jeff really should get rid of this ball pit before he has a lawsuit on his hands. Definitely, Oswald said. He knew he would never set foot in the pit again. He would miss Chip and Mike, but he needed to make some friends in his own time. His mind flashed to the girl on the bench at recess, Gabrielle. She seemed nice, smart too. They had a good talk. Oswald reached for his dad's hand. Let me help you stand up. With Oswald steadying him, Dad rose to his feet and let his son lead him to the exit of the ball pit. He paused and looked up at the hanging yellow costume. What is that creepy thing? I have no idea, said Oswald. This, too, was the truth. They climbed out of the pit and walked through Jeff's Pizza. Jeff was wiping down the counter, still watching the ball game on the restaurant's TV. Had he not seen or heard anything? Still holding Oswald's hand. When was the last time he and his dad held hands? Dad lifted his son's arm and looked at it. You're bleeding. Yeah, Oswald said. I must have scraped my arm when I was trying to pull you out of the pit. His dad shook his head. Like I said, that thing is a public safety issue. Just sticking up a sign saying keep out isn't enough. He let go of Oswald's arm. We'll get your arm cleaned up at the house, and your mom can dress the wound once she gets home from work. Oswald wondered what his mom would say when she saw the fang marks. As they approached the front door, Oswald said, Dad, I know I can be a pain sometimes, but I really do love you, you know. Dad looked at him with an expression that seemed both pleased and surprised. Same here, kiddo. He ruffled Oswald's shoulder. But you have terrible taste in science fiction movies. Oh yeah? Oswald said, smiling. Well, you have terrible taste in music. And you like boring ice cream. Together they opened the door to the fresh night air. Behind them, Jeff called, Hey kid, you forgot your soda. And that is Into the Pit, which was a long... It was like 16... Wait a second. That was 69 pages. Let's go. Oh, that was a long story. It has grown late. I am tired. My throat hurts a little bit. I talk a lot on streams, but never really that continuously, that long. There's the Kara Kara Bazaar. And we got 20 horns, so that's really rad. That was a good little grind stream. And you gotta look into what I do whenever I'm not streaming. When I say I resource grind, this is half of what I do, truly. But thank you guys so much for hanging about. Whether you chatted, whether you lurked, whether you're here for the last 5 minutes, whether you're here for the last 2 hours and 35 minutes, I love and appreciate you all the very same. And I hope you had fun with that little thing. It was something I was a little nervous to try and do, but a couple of friends encouraged me, so that they thought it was a cool idea, and so I gave it a shot anyways. I had fun. I might do it again eventually. It might not be a regular thing, but it might come back. It might come back. But until then, whenever that happens, I hope you enjoyed a little bedtime story, a 2 hour long bedtime story. Some of those Fazbear Frights stories can be like longer than all get out, and then other ones are just like itty bitty things. But I hope you had fun. I know I did. So that's what counts, yeah. It's just enjoying ourselves. So I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever it may be, because times feel so weird and I'm never going to understand them. But thank you for spending yours with me, and I'll see you next time, which will be tomorrow at some point. Who knows what we'll be doing? We'll see. But until then, bye, 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 bye.
Sharp as a blade, I can strike into action. Call the syndicate, we shall seek satisfaction. I've been living and fighting in this war of life, but it doesn't matter how hard I try while heroes die. New tyrants rise as the totem glows. Voices welcome me home. Every word you say on a throne of lies that fail to come to my surprise. Nations fall, my fireworks fly. Blood is the only way. Paint the blue skies red. Injustice I'll repay. Leave them out for dead. I keep my friends close and enemies closer. History repeats itself over and over. I've forgotten how all the flowers smell, the beauty they hold. I cannot tell, it all begins when I ring the bell. Blood is the only way. Paint the blue skies red. Injustice I'll repay. Leave them out for dead. Still my withering heart yearns for peace and mercy. But I'm ready for revolution now, so let the blood stain the ground, burn it down.